Well, let's talk about this next fight I'm super excited about. It's Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa, the inflated balloon animal. Um, Another fight, pretty high odds. Whittaker is minus in the 200 somewhere. I don't know when you're watching this right now. I've got minus 250. Paulo Costa plus 205. Pretty similar range, pretty similar in age. What I see from Whittaker is he's light on his feet. He stays out of range. I think he's got the grappling edge. He's got a great gas tank. He does have low hands, though, but I think Whittaker has a great resume. He's fought guys, and win or lose, you get that experience. So he's fought guys like Dreykus, who is the current champion, Adesanya twice, who was the champion, Vittori, Cannonier, Till, and Romero. Paulo Costa, no striking defense from that guy. He's got kickboxer fighting style. He just tries to outstrength dudes. Just a showboater, pretty boy. I don't see. I think Whittaker is a fighter. I think Costa. I think he's doing it for a paycheck and for the fame. I just really think Whittaker is going to take it to him. It could absolutely be a decision. I probably would go decision with Whittaker. I just don't know if he's able to knock out Costa or get the sub. Costa, he's just not talented to me, and I don't think he's just going to be able to outmuscle and bully Whittaker. What do you think?
I think come Saturday night we will all be condoms, as Paulo Costa himself said, the eraser man, the rubber man. So what I think is this. So Paulo Costa, I wonder if he's going to show up. That's the first thing I wonder. It's been a very
Right.
long time since the guy last fought. He's coming off a very long layoff. His last fight was a win over Luke Rockhold, which is not much of an accomplishment in this day and age, because when he last fought Luke Rockhold, that was back in 2022, and that was a decision win in August of 2022 against Luke Rockhold. Now, Luke Rockhold is a legend and all these other things that I don't need to waste breath saying, but in 2022, he's a shell of his former self, and he's not even in MMA anymore. He's doing bare knuckle boxing, and I should unfortunately tell you all that there is needed to know about Luke Rockhold's career and trajectory since, losing to Paulo back in August of 2022. So before that, he only fought once in 2021, and in 2020 was when Israel Adesanya defeated him. So Paulo Costa is a guy I was really high on for a very long time. Since his debut in 2017, I pretty much had watched almost all of his fights live. I had the privilege of being able to do that, just kind of following along with his career as he made his ascension. And in the words of Jack Slack, shout out to him, he is without a doubt the juiciest slut on the roster. If you think he's not on drugs, you're merely arguing that he has not failed a test, which in and of itself is really remarkable. That as much as USADA has tested him over the years that USADA was active throughout his career, they were only able to catch him for using an IV, and they only gave him a slap on the wrist for it. And it just kind of feels like catching Al Capone and all the FBI ever could charge him with was tax evasion. It's pretty impressive, actually, all things considered. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the issue, though. Paulo Costa, aside from inactivity, has not evolved much in his UFC career. Now, when he was on The Ultimate Fighter with Chael Sonnen and Vanderlei Silva on The Ultimate Fighter Brazil, that was when he went under his biggest transformation, because on The Ultimate Fighter, when he was being coached by those two gentlemen on that show and learning from them and all that, he started off as a guy who was trying to use his BJJ, was trying to use his wrestling, and it resulted in him being just like a really muscle-bound guy who would just completely exhaust himself chasing very sloppy takedowns. And it got him surprisingly pretty far on the show to the finals or semifinals, I do believe. I'm about to look it up while I continue talking. So it's not like it wasn't something that took him pretty far on the show, because it definitely did. The problem is Yeah, it took him all the way to the quarterfinal round, being that, juiced up, sloppy takedown chasing guy who, for the whole 15 minutes, would just go after it nonstop. I mean, he got a guillotine choke finish in round two on his first fight in the elimination round of the show, but then lost a split decision. So it's not like he got completely destroyed in the quarterfinals. Then after that, he went back to the regional scene for a bit, then came into the UFC. So in between the Ultimate Fighter and making his way officially into the UFC, the biggest transformation he underwent was he started to become a guy who, ever since the Ultimate Fighter, I've never seen him even attempt a takedown. I've never seen him even use his wrestling or use any grappling in any capacity. And he became just a very beefy, power punching kickboxing guy, as you kind of alluded to. And that was the best transformation he could have made, because that led him to TKO Gareth McClellan. Not an impressive win, but I'm just going over what it led to his career doing. Lawaje Bambose, once again, not impressive. Johnny Hendricks at that time, not impressive. Uriah Hall was decent. Amazing fight with Yo Romero. That was a
Yeah.
decision. But before Yo Romero fight, which was an amazing back and forth, exciting fight, even though it was a decision, he still knocked Yo down a few times. That's an impressive accomplishment in his own right. But before that, he was on a 1, 2, 3, 4 fight TKO KO win in the UFC. So clearly it paid off for him to make that switch until he met Israel Adesanya. And we know how that went and how embarrassing that was, and how he got brutally finished in the second round and had nothing to offer. What concerns me is, even though he's only had 2 fights since then, that was back in 2020. So, along with the inactivity, I've not seen him change that style. Marvin Vittori, that was an amazing, great, legendary fight, back and forth, highly entertaining, even though Costa lost by unanimous decision. Great fight. If you haven't seen it, highly encourage you to watch it. But he didn't show anything new in his game. He showed the exact same Paulo that had made his way to Israel Adesanya and had been defeated. The Luke Rockhold fight, I did see bits and pieces of that fight. Admittedly, I've not seen the full thing, but I've seen highlights. And I did see some half-assed grappling exchanges, primarily with Paulo on top in those. But that's not enough to give me any type of confidence that he's made it a clear core part of his new and improved game plan in any way. Because even though Luke Rockhold was a very adept grappler and a very talented one and a very good BJJ artist, this is once again the Luke who's a shell of himself in 2022. So it's not really holding much weight that he was able to do that. All this to say, I don't even think Robert's going to try to press a grappling advantage that I feel that he clearly has, because he's the same way. I hear all the time that he's like an Australian Games champion wrestler or some crazy shit like that, but I don't see the guy ever use it. I mean, he occasionally will defend a takedown, but we just recently saw DDP do a Toshi pass on him and smash the guy and actually finish him for the first time in a while. So I'm a little bit concerned, and this is definitely not where I thought I was going to go when the gun was on me and I was forced to make a decision. I did not anticipate making this decision. This was completely on the fly as of a few minutes ago. With Paulo Costa at a plus 205 and Whittaker at a minus 250, I was not thinking I was ever going to say these words. They were going to come out of my mouth. This is maybe my Kool-Aid moment. I think maybe Paulo Costa gets it done. I do, because up until that DDP fight, I was very, very high on Whittaker. Like, as high as I am on DDP and as a fan of Drickus as I am, and I still am, and all that jazz, I thought Drickus had nothing to offer Whittaker. I thought he was easily going to get destroyed, blah, 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 blah. And it was a complete and total opposite. And Whittaker easily was destroyed by Drickus du Plessis, and DDP smashed him with ease. And it's very sad to see, and it makes me now wonder, as I was doing research for this fight, it has to come eventually for everyone at some time. And even though his nickname's the Reaper, I wonder if the Reaper has finally come for Robert Whittaker. He's taken a lot of damage. He's been in a lot of fights with the likes of Yo Romero. Those fights alone with Yoel have probably taken so much, off of his chin, off of his ability to take shots, withstand shots, etc. all that damage accumulates. Getting smashed by DDP accumulates. He's not getting any younger. He's got a lot of miles. Paulo, yeah, I was taking originally the approach of all the inactivity hurts. Maybe it's reinvigorating him. Maybe I'll look at it from that angle. Maybe the inactivities made him rejuvenated, excited. Maybe he has, doubtful, but I'll say it. Maybe he's worked on new things in the meantime. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of question marks that, since he hasn't fought in 2 years, we don't really know what he's going to look like. But unfortunately, for better or for worse, we have seen Robert Whittaker recently. And I'm kind of sad because it makes me wonder if it's the end of an era at middleweight for him. And maybe he should be strongly considering retirement, as he already has been for a few years now. Maybe he should enjoy his time with his family, his health, things of that nature. I wish him all the best. But plus 205, that's a pretty tantalizing money line for Costa. And like I said, maybe I'm taking the bait. Maybe I'm an idiot and a dumbass, and I'll look that way come Saturday. But this is the type of guy Whittaker struggles with. Up until Adesanya, Whittaker primarily struggled with big, beefy guys like Yo Romero who just punch your head off and just pressure the hell out of you. And that's what Paulo does. He's a Terminator. He walks forward. He is able to withstand punishment, as his fight with Vettori demonstrated to us. He is able to just keep coming forward as much as he can, pressure you. And that's going to take away a lot of tools that Robert Whittaker likes. Robert Whittaker likes his karate boxing blitzes. He actually makes karate boxing interesting, unlike some other people at this stage of their careers. Like Wonder Boy, I like him, but dude hasn't been entertaining for a while. Whittaker blitzes in, uses that right high kick, that right hand, kind of like that, except it's like an orthodox double for him because he's orthodox, I believe, in his stance primarily. Uses things like that to just wear away guys and take that away. And yes, I know Whittaker is also good at taking those tools away from big, heavy power punchers. Like he made Jared Cannonier look silly and absolutely dismantled him. So I understand the road goes both ways. But just kind of a feeling taken over me as this show's progressed and I've been doing the analysis. Why not plus 205 money line for Costa? And if you really want to get bold and ballsy, KO TKO for Paulo is at plus 400 right now. I would be safe and just stick with the money line. Robert is tough. He is durable. And yeah, he could be at the tail end of his career, but I just want to play it safe with the odds with that big of a disparity and just go with the plus 205 money line. That way, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? What are you really losing if this fight doesn't, pan out for Costa? The Merab and Henry Cejudo fight, to me, that just seems like such a clear-cut Merab. The Ian Gary Neal fight just looks like such a clear-cut Gary, but this and the Kopylov Hernandez fight are like the biggest so far, kind of muddled ones to me, where the outcome really just isn't that glaringly obvious. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, man. I can't believe that this is the first time. The first 4 fights were completely on opposite sides. With Whittaker, you pretty much have to pick a method if you're taking him. You could take the 250, but I looked at the double method because I don't think it's going to be a submission. So if Whittaker did a knockout with the decision double method, it's the exact same as his money line. It's the exact same as his money line. So they're telling you that the submission is not coming. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't hate it if you're just doing money line. Paulo Costa is such a better deal. Like we were saying, these are tough fights.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome, welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.